great job giving me 3 facts about phytoplankton. The next plankton that we will discuss is zooplankton. It looks like it's pronounced zooplankton. It's okay to say it that way, but the correct pronunciation is zoo. Alright, zooplankton are tiny animals that feed on phytoplankton and decomposing bits of dead sea life, as well as other marine animals' excretions, which means their poop. Many of them live lower down in the ocean's depths and travel up to the sunlight zone after dark, so you can see the fluctuation from them going to the sunlight zone to the twilight zone, right? So they fluctuate because they're going to eat the phytoplankton at night and then going back. Some particularly delicious types of zooplankton are in the larval stages of larger critters such as jellyfish, blue crabs, and many fish species when they are first born. So you guys can see that this one kind of looks like a shrimp. That's because he is. So is this guy down here. Right, so these are in larval stages. We are going to watch 2 videos together. The first one I might cut short a little bit. The second one is on the funnier side, and I enjoy it, so I hope you guys do too. So let's take a look.
How did I get here? Well, it's a stranger story than you might think. I came from a world of drifters, a place few humans have ever seen. The world of plankton. I came from a batch of 1 million eggs, and only a few of us survived. When I became a larva, I moved among other drifters. My fellow plankton came in all sizes, from tiny algae and bacteria to animals longer than a blue whale. I shared my nursery with other embryos and juveniles, from clams and crabs to sea urchins and anemones. We drifting animals are called zooplankton. The most common animals here are copepods and krill. You could search the world over, but you'd never find a place more diverse than my childhood home. A teaspoon of seawater can contain more than 1 million living creatures. It can be a pretty tough existence, though. Trillions are born here, but only a few make it to adulthood. He may be no larger than a pinhead, but this crab larva is an arrowworm's worst nightmare. Epic battles between carnivores like these are just one way to get food. But the real powers of this place come from phytoplankton. Single-celled life that transforms sunlight and carbon dioxide into edible gold. Phytoplankton are the base for the largest food web in the world. During the night, many animals like me would rise up from the depths to feed on this sun-powered feast. I was part of the largest daily migration of life on Earth. During the day, I'd return to the darkness where I'd join my bizarre companions. Cannibals, like this sea butterfly mollusk that eats its next of kin. And comb jellies that beat cilia like rainbowed eyelashes. Some of these snare their prey with sticky tentacles, while others just take a bite out of their cousins. And siphonophores that catch prey with toxic fishing lures. But my favorite would have to be the crustacean Phronema. Its monstrous looks inspired the movie Aliens. It can catch tiny bits in its bristles, but prefers larger prey like salps. With 2 sets of eyes, this female prowls the deeper water. Prey in hand, she performs one of the strangest behaviors in the entire animal kingdom. With body parts from her victims, she delicately assembles a barrel-like home, feeding her young until they can drift off and survive on their own. Best of all, they make the perfect snack for a small fish like me. Here among the plankton, the food web is so tangled and complex, even scientists don't know who eats whom. But I do. At least now you know a bit of my story. There's so much more to me than just a tasty meal.
So that was a look into phytoplankton and zooplankton. Alright, so the next video I really enjoy. It's 5 reasons to be thankful for plankton. Alright, so let's take a look.
Have you thanked plankton recently? You haven't, have you? No one ever does. It's not like they're not adorable. There's bacteria, algae, jellyfish, teensy baby crabs. Basically anything that drifts around with the ocean currents can be called plankton. They're so photogenic that a book's just come out filled with pictures of them. But they don't just float around all day looking pretty. It turns out plankton are keeping us all alive. So start your thank you notes now, because here are 5 reasons to thank plankton. Number 1, air. Everyone loves trees. Trees fill the air with oxygen and stop global warming and save the planet. So how come no one mentions that photosynthetic plankton, like these diatoms, produce as much oxygen as all the rainforests and land plants put together? And absorb carbon dioxide. And slow down climate change. Oh, and they've been doing it for 3 billion years. Take that, trees. Thanks, plankton. Number 2, fuel. Here's another thing trees get all the credit for, fuel. You can chop them down as firewood or dig their remains up as coal. But the world's biggest energy source is oil. And can you guess what most of that precious oil is made from? What a surprise! It's plankton. Single-celled creatures like diatoms and dinoflagellates die and sink to the sea floor, where they're crushed and transformed over millions of years into oil and natural gas. Sure, dead trees contribute some of it, but the plankton had a 3 billion year head start, making them the world's largest supplier of fossil fuels. So much for saving the planet. Thanks, plankton. Number 3, rocks. When we're not burning plankton's remains for fuel, we're building houses from them. From St. Paul's Cathedral to the Great Pyramids, some of our favourite chunks of rock were once at the bottom of the sea. Hard shells, like on these foraminifera, fall to the ocean floor and end up cemented into sedimentary rocks. Chalk is basically entirely plankton. So what have we learnt? That's right, plankton rocks! Thanks, plankton! Number 4, fish fingers. Okay, so maybe you can technically survive without fish fingers. Or salmon. Sushi, mussels, tuna mayo sandwiches. Okay, let's just say you're vegetarian. The point is, all sea creatures, delicious or otherwise, depend on plankton somewhere in the food chain. Our pals, the photosynthetic plankton, turn sunlight into food for hungry zooplankton, some of which, like krill, feed ever bigger marine predators. So if you liked Finding Nemo, don't thank Disney, don't thank Pixar, thank Plankton. Thanks, Plankton! Number 5, your face. Without plankton, you wouldn't have a face, or legs, or a gallbladder. What I'm getting at here is that we all kind of evolved from plankton. Back when life was just single cells floating in the ocean, planktonic organisms invented photosynthesis. They invented eating each other. They eventually invented the wonder that is multicellular life, which would eventually lead to us. Okay, they didn't technically invent your actual face, but they certainly helped evolution get there. Planks, Plankton! Time for a conclusion. Plankton gives you air to breathe, keeps you warm at night, fuels your car, puts food on the table, led to the evolution of your entire species, and doesn't even ask for a favour in return. Plankton's got your back, man. It's always there for you. So take a minute, right now, to appreciate what you've got and say, thanks, Plankton. We love you guys.
And so that's what you're going to do on the following slide. You are going to thank Plankton for 2 things, and you have to come up with those 2 things. All right, get to writing your thank you letters.